In the name of God, the compassionate and merciful, hello everybody, you are watching FOADEBATE. These days, the discussions around the Oman negotiations are very heated, with many speculations being exchanged by domestic and international experts and commentators. Some believe that these negotiations are merely a show by Trump to advance his unilateral goals, while others think that this is the beginning of economic openings for Iran and an end to long-standing tensions. There are also ambiguities in this regard, which I tried to address in a one-hour conversation I had with Alexander Azadgan, a political analyst and professor of strategic studies and international relations at University of California. I plan to share parts of this conversation with you in different segments. I invite you to watch the opening part of it. Before we dive into any questions, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what prompted Trump to become determined to negotiate with Iran in the first place.
President Trump, first of all, it's good to be with you, Fahd. Thanks for your invitation. President Trump, if you understand his psychology, mimics himself after President Nixon. That is a political sort of hero of him. Trump ultimately wants to negotiate with everybody. He just does what we call mafia diplomacy, arm twisting, all the techniques that he used as a businessman in his real estate empire. If you understand anything about land developers, they are vicious negotiators, but they want to negotiate. They just want to maximize their gain. So that's what Trump is doing. He wants to have a legacy of peace, we believe, contrary to all the hard talk and all the bullying. At the core, President Trump is actually a pro-peace president, we believe. And President Trump doesn't want to be outdone by anybody, including someone like Netanyahu, who is known as the butcher of Gaza right now, since October 7th and earlier. He does not want to be outdone by Netanyahu. He wants to circumvent Netanyahu. And you can understand, you can sort of analyze him when he was at that press conference when Netanyahu came to Washington and President Trump made the ridiculous claim that the U.S. should take over Gaza. On the surface, that sounds obnoxious, but what he was really doing was trying to sideline Netanyahu, who is also a type A personality, very aggressive, very harsh, strongman, dictatorial sort of tendencies. So while on one hand, sometimes President Trump says Israel is going to be the lead on this project, and by that he was referring to the negotiations, hinting that Israel could attack, there is no way he's going to sign off on that Israel would be allowed to make an attack on Iran's oil facilities or nuclear facilities or anything like that. The Israelis like to project this image of fear that what they did to Iraq in 1982 with the Osirak nuclear facility, that they may do the same thing to the Iranian facilities. But Iran's facilities are much more complicated. They're underground. It requires the use of nuclear weapons, tactical nuclear weapons, not the type that we saw in Hiroshima or Nagasaki, and that there's no way that's going to happen at a time when inflation is out of control, where President Trump is in a trade war with everybody, but in particularly China. There's no way that Trump or United States, the entire security apparatus in this country, would allow a war to take place against Iran. We believe that. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay. And so that would have tremendous negative consequences on the global economy and in particular the U.S. economy, because the price of oil is going to go off the roof. So we believe, contrary to what contrary to what Wall Street reported, Wall Street Journal reported a couple of days ago that both Iran and U.S. Departed from the negotiations in Oman. We believe these are just tactical gestures by both the Iranians and the Trump negotiation team, and that ultimately the solution would have to be some compromise between Iran and US. But you have to understand the Israeli lobby is tremendously powerful in Europe and in US. They want nothing but regime change.
Yeah.
And by that, I'm talking systematic destabilization of Iran. This is what they really want. They don't want any negotiation with Iran under the current Islamic Republican system. They want to topple the Islamic Republican system, bring in their own cronies, former crown prince, lunatics like him, and then negotiate. That's really the bottom line. There's no way. And Netanyahu feels he's got the momentum on his side. Netanyahu is a megalomaniac. He's a malignant narcissist. He has a messiah complex, and he feels he's destined by God to lead his country into war with Iran. The religious lunatics in Israel, far-right, crazy, racist, religious Zionists, are convinced through their idiotic prophecies that Iran will attack them. They're convinced of that this is an existential war between Iran and Israel. So they don't want any negotiation between Iran and US.